Good morning, I'm Glenn Griffiths. During the Pro Farmer Crop Tour last week, scouts saw it all. From the potential of big yields to crops barely hanging on to make it to the finish line. Pro Farmer taking all of that into account along with other factors such as weather, crop maturity, and areas outside of the tour to come up with its annual corn and soybean crop estimates. It is now forecasting a national average corn yield of 172 bushels per acre. That's more than 3 bushels below USDA's latest average of 175.1 bushels per acre. Now for soybeans, Pro Farmer calling for an average yield of 49.7, USDA predicting 50.9, so more than a bushel lower. Now Pro Farmer's estimates have a range of plus or minus 1 to 2%. So let's dive into the numbers state by state. Starting in Iowa, Pro Farmer calling for 197 bushels per acre for corn, saying the crop took a beating last week from extreme heat, adding to the drought stress it was already under. Soybeans, 55 bushels an acre, saying disease issues and late season moisture stress are pushing yields down. Illinois, the corn yield winner at 203 bushels to the acre, but not enough to challenge last year's record yield. Soybeans in the state also coming out on top at 62, but late season heat could be an issue there. Nebraska, 173 on corn, with irrigated corn holding its own this year. For soybeans, 52, with irrigated beans being a solid crop, while dryland is deteriorating each day. Minnesota, it's in at 175 bushels to the acre for corn due to extreme variability and a lot of barren stalks. As for soybeans, 46, and they could still finish strong with some late season rains. Indiana, a good number for corn here at 194 bushels to the acre, but it also will need some rains to finish out, and 60.5 for soybeans, the crop lacking a little in maturity at this point. In Ohio, one of the most impressive on the tour, it's in at 192 bushels to the acre for corn, but also a little immature. As for soybeans, 57.5 bushels to the acre. Pro Farmer saying it was heavily potted. And in South Dakota, finishing at the bottom this year at 144 bushels to the acre on corn, the crop much improved from last year, but not necessarily a great crop, and 41 bushels to the acre for soybeans with huge year-over-year increases in pod counts.
So the extreme heat that we dealt with last week on Crop Tour, especially on the western side, just really hammered crops, and we saw vast differences. I live in Northeast Iowa, and when I left for Crop Tour on Saturday to head out to Ohio, we knew there were issues in some areas, but it was pretty stark the change coming back through on Thursday. How much difference that heat had made. Corn ears were hanging. Soybeans were starting to turn in some of the fields, many of the fields, and so that had a factor that came into play there. We just feel like the finish isn't going to be what it needs to be, and as a result, yields will come down.
For a closer look at all of the numbers released from Pro Farmer, from the national estimates to the numbers gathered from the tour last week, make sure to check it out over at agweb.com. You can watch all of the highlights from the tour, including the nightly reports during Crop Tour Live. Just click on the Pro Farmer Crop Tour tab at the top of the web page.